person. They're out of that law enforcement, department now, but they were extremely sophisticated in what they did and how they did it. But here's the story. They say this, and the term Black Awakening, which is the title of the book, and even the course we have that has all the outline MP3s, that's their term. They've used it. They look at it as a day of massive chaos, massive anarchy. Here's what they tell me over all these years, and the information comes from numerous of the individuals from different states, different locations, different ages, that the goal is to create, at some point there'll be an activation or a call, and across the United States specifically, and especially in UK and Europe, there will be the creation of massive, massive, massive anarchy. Attacking the power grids, communication systems. There will be multiple assassinations because of who they need to already target. The reason they're doing recon and placing their people is because they need to know who they need to get out of the way in the midst of all the chaos, bloodshed, bombings, blowing up buildings, taking people out, and creating incredible chaos, incredible anarchy, so that when the dust settles, they don't want to destroy everything because they want to come in and change, come into new leadership. And so when they create the chaos and create the literally collapse of society, that's the ultimate goal, to collapse the society and weaken it in such a way that a right behind those who create the collapse is the ones that have been the handlers and the elitists that are already planning to step in and say, hey, here we are to save the day, which would involve the concept of the Antichrist and why he would be so accepted at first. If Europe and nations over there, and all of a sudden, there's massive anarchy, nations begin to, have some really major skirmishes, and everything turns into almost like the end of the world, and the United States itself, like you think in terms of 9/11, and think of at least 5,000 cities that occurring all within a week. All across the United States, along with power grids, along with communications, along with assassinations and shootings in churches, like some of the shootings in the colleges and other places. Some of those, there is no question in my mind, they were highly trained, very programmed, efficient, like the guy at VTech, 60% kill rate. That's hard for someone like in SWAT or a military soldier to do, but he did it. So I think that when this kind of thing breaks out and the masses of people go into hiding and there's bloodshed and there's anarchy and martial law is called, and here's the difficulty though. The more we got into that, then we got into the military side. And here's my concern for them. Gina, I think this is probably the least area that I've spoken out on so far, and probably one of the most that I will be pouring more information out. I believe U.S. military has been infiltrated since the 50s with that ancient agenda. I believe that U.S. military has within it many of these individuals that will be there as sabotage, so that when the Black Awakening occurs, their great day of anarchy, and when law enforcement agencies begin to call in SWAT teams and come to the weapons room and get out there to help people, and when the military is called to come out on the field, National Guard, stuff like that, what's going to happen is in law enforcement, they will have individuals, as I've met them, that will explode there specifically and incapacitate local law enforcement and also incapacitate U.S. military, and as far as on the field here. So it will be, and I think it's biblically predicted to occur before the Antichrist, comes. But I also see their belief system, their occult ideology, the same way the Nazis got occult ideology, their sheer hatred of Israel and their desire to annihilate Israel. They want to annihilate the capacity of the church in the beginning, And if they can't convert the church to this new world order issue, which is really not a new secular world order, it's going to be a new Luciferian oriented, as you mentioned earlier. The Word of God even predicts in 2 Thessalonians 2 that not only will the Antichrist come in accordance with Satan, with counterfeit signs, wonders, and miracles, so there's supernatural power behind it. Then it says, and in every sort of evil that deceives those who are perishing. And the word evil there is, in the manuscripts, Greek manuscripts, is linked to the concept of sexual perversion, which in satanic rituals, and this is why, even in the lighter levels of Crowley, Aleister Crowley, and others, satanic sexual rituals have everything to do with dirtying the conscience, the moral structure, especially the more perverted it gets, because it brings a platform for the demonic side and helps break the will, break the conscience, break the morality so that a person can be pushed to do anything.
It's also to mock God, isn't it? Because He created Adam and Eve and the procreation, and sex is supposed to be a good thing between men and women,
sure,
and especially in marriage. And of course, people stray today, but that was how it was designed. So if they do this with sex, and it is sexual perversion, believe me, I was raped by these people. I know they're disgusting, and it's to mock God and what He created, to destroy His fabulous world that He had planned. So I look at it as mocking God all the way.
Absolutely, especially in the children when they do it, because that's what they do. Like in the marriage to the beast thing at 6 years old and 13, some of the darkest of rituals involve major sexual stuff, and they believe the transmission of demonic presence can occur. And yeah, again, it helps them then to, especially when they're young, then to mold them and from the lightest levels to the deepest, sophisticated levels of programming. And ultimate goal is to bring up individuals who can help them, on the one hand, unleash more and more dark power, presence. On the other hand, be prepared to create literally, some of them have said, all hell on earth is going to break loose. And when the dust settles, then we have Antichrist, because here's what Christians understand too. The Antichrist doesn't come out of just nowhere. There's no question he would be born the Antichrist, just as Christ was born the Son of God, God in human flesh. The Antichrist will be a counterfeit type incarnation. He'll probably come out of old bloodlines and rituals, but he'll have all of those who believe in his coming and believe in him, as these many people that I've dealt with, they've said they're the troops that will help bring him in. And if they have to sacrifice their life and everything else, to them, a lot of them, Gina, they think this day of anarchy or black awakening is going to be like a massive ritual, because it will create terror and fear and bloodshed, which is all, those three ingredients are in major rituals that draw demonic presence and causes them to come from one side to the other. So it's kind of like even a satanic Pentecost of power that will also be drawn in to empower the takeover. And Europe is I still feel for Europe, because they're going to be in the worst case scenario.
Well, doesn't he rise to power? Doesn't he rise to power, supposedly, over in Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's no question, though, that they are the ones that we've dealt with for years. They all know that. They all know that. They all say, when we really get down deep into them and deal with what's going on and their training. And gee, it's weird, because many of them that we dealt with can speak up to 5 different languages, can write in old languages. They're very proficient in weapons, in martial arts, defenses, even in poisons and chemicals, explosives, things like that. These folks are really, really trained. And that's why I say military, on an outward scale, doesn't have a lot to do with it. I mean, military is military, but the shadow side of military, that had bought into some of the old German agenda, the old German science and technology, they have literally been infiltrated since the 50s. And so that's why I say that there's an underbelly to military, to law enforcement, to the defense agencies, to the government itself.